Awesome. So thank you. It really is an honor to be here, along with Daniel and the team at FilterMax. I wanted to give you a bit of background. Hopefully this presentation won't take much more than about half an hour, but there's some live demos recorded inside because you know what it's like doing live demos with a mobile phone. I joined Forcepoint 8 months ago from Symantec. I was the CASB specialist for Symantec for 2 years. And I had been involved in about 70 customer purchases of CASB. Probably around about 300 customers that were interested in CASB. And it's kind of an early stage technology, but it's starting to become really valuable to customers. So the point is, I've made enough mistakes. And I wanted to share with you what is working for customers and some areas to avoid. The reason I joined Forcepoint is because I had a few experiences where I found that Forcepoint is making it easy for customers who are using existing Forcepoint gateways or existing DLP, or who are looking for a DLP or a gateway to also encompass the cloud. They just make it easy. That's the point. We're starting to become a mainstream technology. And it's great that Daniel and the team have involved us just after a UBA vendor, because I think if this works, Forcepoint has human behavior at our very core. We know that humans are amazing. Humans are the source of the biggest innovation that you can have, but they can also be your biggest risk. And that's why at Forcepoint we're trying not to stop people from doing what they feel is going to be beneficial to the company. Finding shadow IT cloud applications, or maybe giving people the ability to use applications that are next generation. We don't want to force people to use on-premise applications if there is a more effective cloud collaboration tool available. Solving the problem of using cloud, solving the human behavior and the data problem of using cloud, that's what we're trying to accomplish. So really, what CASB is all about, and it doesn't matter if you buy our CASB or somebody else's CASB, it's all about accelerating the cloud adoption within a business. Because the biggest challenge to adopting cloud is typically risk and compliance. So if you ask us how can a CASB accelerate our digital transformation, it's very simple. We can accelerate your digital transformation by lowering the risk of using cloud, lowering the human behavior and lowering the data risk of using cloud against some very specific use cases like sharing data, use cases like shadow IT, and that's what we're going to talk about today and give you some practical examples of that as well. And the team at FilterMax and Forcepoint, our job is to make that simple for you with integrated solutions that just work. So why would you want to use cloud, right? Well, there's no surprise, right? Unless you happen to be in the government, most of your data probably resides in the cloud. If you are in the government, you wish that you could put it in the cloud rather than spending all that money for on-premise expensive equipment. But that's where the data is right now. The data is going to the cloud. And people like Gartner talk about how, you know, in the European Union, CASB is starting to lower the adoption of cloud risk. If you look at the Gartner hype cycles between 2017 and 2018 for the adoption of Cloud Office, so Office 365 and G Suite and collaboration tools like that, it's going into the mainstream. They're starting to become something that we just do. What Gartner is saying that if you have a CASB, it will lower the risk of failure of Office 365, for example. So at Forcepoint, we deployed full suite E3 Office 365. So Yammer, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, we deployed it within 4 months. And the reason why we were able to share externally with SharePoint, and the reason why we're able to collaborate externally with Teams and Yammer, is because we use CASB to lower the risk of doing that. The problem with analysts, though, like Gartner, is they have a habit of hyping technologies before they become practical to use. And I would never criticize any analyst for doing that, but for the last 4 years, CASB has been one of the top 10 Gartner must-have technologies for security. And in my experience working for Symantec, half of the customers never got value from the CASB that they bought. A report showing you shadow IT is no use if you can't act on that, if you can't do something about it. A report showing you where data is in OneDrive is no use unless you have worked with the business to agree the way of handling data. But also, CASB has if you have unrealistic hype, you have unrealistic hope. You think that the CASB will do things that it just can't do. It's just not any CASB. Hadoop arrays, Dockers, data lakes, some of the hyper-converged stuff. It's not great for that. So the first thing that I did, I'm responsible for our practice globally, is I tried to understand what a CASB can do. Our CASB. What can it do? So right in the middle is value. Where we're going to make it really interesting is where that value maps over to customer problems. So whenever I'm talking to a customer, we usually spend about an hour on this page as a discussion. Because the conversation typically goes like this: what is a CASB? What can it do for me? It lowers the risk of cloud. Cool. Show me some specifics. Well, what is slowing you down? What's holding back from fully cloud-enabled, like being a Netflix, where everything exists in the cloud? Or, well, we may be a bit concerned about shadow IT. But shadow IT could be an indicator that people are actually solving problems themselves. They're finding solutions to problems that the answer about blocking it or allowing it is not the right answer. For example, in a bank, if a bank wants to collaborate with a law firm for an acquisition, for example, do you use the bank's tools or the law firm's tools? If the law firm is saying we're going to use Box, but the bank is not providing Box, what do you do? Do you not do any business? Or do you just pretend that it didn't happen? Or could you use CASB to lower the risk of that? It's a good example. So, shadow IT, right? Blocking it or allowing it is often not the right answer. Sharing, right? The number of customers I've been to see where they say, actually, we haven't allowed external sharing from OneDrive because we have no visibility and control over the data and where it's being shared. So therefore, we're creating a shadow IT problem because people are solving the problem themselves. Administrators, do you know if the administrator of AWS or Office 365 is starting to do things that could cause you a problem? The cloud being the source of where the attackers are going. And for this, I would use the Deloitte example in 2017. If you have the time, Google Deloitte breach 2017. 243,000 Office 365 accounts were compromised, according to the press. The reason they were compromised is because somebody in Deloitte administrator did not put two-factor authentication onto an account. So it was successfully brute forced. They don't know the extent of the problem, but the attackers know where the attackers successfully brute forced it and got in. That has an effect on share prices. Employees and third parties. Did you know that you could give somebody a Box account? You could have administrator control of a Box account or Office 365 or Salesforce. And unless you're putting restrictions on your users, for example, they need to do a VPN to get access to your email, which nobody wants a VPN for email, right? You just want to get email, press the button, it should work. If you don't put those restrictions, they can access that cloud application from any device anywhere. So do you really want your users to have full access to Office 365 from their children's laptop? Because that's the only laptop they've got. Yeah. So maybe a CASB can help with that. So the decisions that we've made in our development have been that if you're a Forcepoint DLP customer, you can extend your DLP without going out of your DLP system into cloud applications. It's a CASB technology, but it's not CASB. If you're a Forcepoint web security customer, I'm going to show you how you can extend control of shadow IT, or actually sanctioned IT, stuff that you're providing, from the Forcepoint Security Manager through the CASB. So these are technology integrations that we've made to try and make it easier for you. But really, I wanted to be totally honest with you about the capabilities of CASB technology, right? If it's your device, your cloud application, you have lots of control. If it's your cloud application, their device, you have some control. And also, of course, if it's it's a corporate cloud application, the other way around. There you go. Those are the controls. So we understand the capabilities and the limitations of the different connection mechanisms, the control mechanisms. And understanding that, we can make it very easy for you to find a solution. The CASB has to work in multiple ways because you have multiple different scenarios where you have managed devices and unsanctioned cloud. So we're going to take a couple of examples. So the first architecture is going to be a forward proxy. And we're going to show you in this two examples integrated with the Forcepoint DLP. But the CASB has its own DLP system in it anyway. But you could use Forcepoint DLP. If the customer's got semantic DLP, we can connect to that as well. We don't care. We're not going to force the customer to buy our DLP, though it would be nice. So Forcepoint Web Gateway is going to forward traffic from the Web Gateway through the CASB for selected cloud applications, just the cloud applications you want. Now, uniquely, Forcepoint can protect any cloud application, anything. If Filtermax bring out a filtermaxfilesharing.com website, it's going viral in Hungary in 6 months' time. In the license you have from us, you can protect that. And if we don't have it in our system, we'll put it in there within 5 working days. You have a 60% chance of it being in that quick. So, first example. Within Forcepoint security, your Forcepoint Web Gateway, on-premise and in the cloud, we are giving you free shadow IT. So what you can see here is the cloud application we transfer. That's why it's risky. In this case, the administrator has decided that they want to block all risky cloud applications. This is a feature within 8.5. It's great to have a recorded demo, but I wish it would hurry up. Okay, look, block all high-risk applications. Of course, you can block applications that you select, but it's just a way. So you go to wetransfer.com, and nobody who's going through the gateway can access it. Okay, but what about cloud applications you want to allow? Office 365 is probably a good one. Because Microsoft don't provide forward proxy controls for Office 365. So how are you going to control personal accounts being synchronized with a company laptop? Well, from Forcepoint Security Manager, you can push all of the Office 365 traffic through the CASB. And we can set very simple user access controls. And we can control anything with the objects that we're looking at, really. We can manipulate the objects in multiple ways, but non-approved domain. So if the user is trying from a company laptop to synchronize their laptop with their personal Office 365, we're going to block it. If the login is not the login from the company, we're going to block it. So the user is trying to access Office 365 from for the personal account, and we blocked it. And we're blocking it in real time before data leaves. This is the power of forward proxying. And we can deploy the forward proxy in 61 countries around the world. So the performance would never be harmed. It's very fast. And we can do a whole bunch of other stuff as well, but I'm not going to waste too much of your time with that. But this is a situation where the user has decided they want to use their Slack. So it's a Slack, maybe they have a good reason to do it. So we can control with forward proxy if a data object, a file, or a message is being uploaded or sent. And in this case, we're going to integrate with Forcepoint DLP in real time. We're going to block it. So the relationship that you could have with your users is you can use Slack, or you could use your choice of filtermaxfilesharing.com, but put any credit card details or personal data or anything that is not going to leave the company, and we're going to filter that out. So here we go. Should we count the seconds? Because this is going to take the data, push it down on-premise into the Forcepoint DLP system within the organization, and then that's going to signal a block. But the user is very sneaky. He's going to copy and paste the credit card number in if he doesn't get it out. I know what happens. It's cool. So he's uploading it. Look, it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's actually 5 seconds. So the user experience is not being damaged, but we're not allowing sensitive data to leave. Now, this is not Slack account that we have control of. it's a Slack account they have control of. So you can see the value. You could work with a third party using their tools, but still applying your controls. Let's paste it in. And this one's 2 seconds. So preserving the user experience whilst not allowing sensitive data to go out. You could use the Forcepoint DLP system within the CASB, or you could use the Forcepoint DLP system that you got centrally. We don't mind. There it is within the CASB. You can see the real-time event that's happened, and just for completeness, here it is within Forcepoint DLP, and we've got the sample because it's in a protected environment, so we can have a sample. Okay. So, I want to give you a couple of customer examples. So this was an oil and gas company in the UK. It's actually a UK arm of a European oil and gas company. And they have 2,000 people in the UK. They're using Forcepoint Security Manager. They have generally 8.2, quite an old version. Anybody here on 8.2? Yeah? So they wanted to get a reason to upgrade. And they kind of had read something about CASB and they were kind of interested. So they put 15 people on an 8.5 environment. And they knew that you could get shadow IT reporting within 8.5, but they wanted our help. So on December the 4th, 2018, I went in to see them. And they said, look, can you just prove to me that there's that there's value here? And we're kind of interested. So we had a look at their reports. We went to Forcepoint Security Manager, reports, report builder, web, cloud. Let's just filter for file sharing and collaboration. And we found there was a 100 meg file had been uploaded that day by somebody to WeTransfer. We had a look at the name. Who could it be? It was the guy in the room. The security administrator in the room had uploaded 100 meg. And we said, why? He said, oh no, it's okay, it's just me. It was an MSI file. I was sending it to a partner. I was like, okay, are you allowing other people to access WeTransfer? Oh yeah. Why did you access WeTransfer? Well, we don't have another way of sharing a file any bigger than 10 meg. An email is 10 meg max. Well, there is your problem, right? If you could allow controlled access, filter access to WeTransfer, removing sensitive data, would that be valuable for you if you could do that from your Forcepoint web gateway? Within 21 days, they bought it. Yeah, because they realized that the gateway itself could transfer the traffic through the CASB and filter out the sensitive data. And that way, they could allow people to do big files. Specific use case. People are buying CASB for specific use cases, and then they're feeding that value back to their executives. And that's what I highly recommend you do with us, is look for problems that you've got that are stopping your users from doing their business and solving those tactical problems. And building that out to be a strategic thing. So that's web and forward proxying. I want to talk a little bit about data and DLP and what we can do there. Because I understand that some of you may well be a Forcepoint DLP customer or are considering DLP or data governance. So you want to have one version of the truth with data, right? You don't want to have multiple definitions. And if you want to do it cost effectively, you want to have one way of handling data as well. So if you have a breach, then you can notify the authorities quicker. So Forcepoint DLP could extend it into your managed cloud applications, Office 365. Microsoft is very generous with E3. They give you 3 different DLP systems, DLP engines, one front end. You could extend your Forcepoint DLP system into Office 365 or Salesforce or Box from Forcepoint DLP. I'll show you that. Or with any cloud applications, both filtermaxfilesharing.com or Office 365, we can extend that DLP into data in motion as well, very simply. So the architecture for sanctioned cloud application protection will be your DLP security manager with all of the Forcepoint DLP definitions extended into a cloud application like Office 365 or Box via an API. So we can look at data at rest, but we can also look at some data in motion things like file is shared externally, that sort of thing. Why would you want to do it this way? Well, Number one, you're keeping within your Forcepoint DLP system, so you don't have to teach people another system. But also, you could do things with it. So you could see that if there's a sensitive file in OneDrive, you probably, I don't know, do you care if there's a sensitive file in OneDrive if you're protecting OneDrive? Probably not, right? But if it's shared externally, you might care about it. So being able to unshare external links will reduce your, the amount that you have to worry about. And then you could give people a way of transferring files that's safe, so they don't need to use WeTransfer. But also you can have the standard set of definitions. So if we find something wrong with your on-premise laptop, it's not got an encrypted USB stick, then we give them one message and we'll give you another message if you've decided to put it in the cloud and you've shared it externally. So it's having a same process to deal with things. Let's see how that works. So this is a long video which I'm going to show you a short piece of. But this is Forcepoint DLP. In this case, they care about French personal information. I mean, I don't care about French. It's Brexit, right? They hate us, I hate them. Sorry. But we're seeing it in Office 365 and G Suite. Okay. So just want to kind of show you how the policy engine works. It's all integrated. Therefore, you know, French personal information, we want to define it once for the business. But a different channel could be the cloud, right? So if we are seeing it in a cloud channel, we're looking for the data. And my advice to you is to work with the business to understand what do we do if we find data in a cloud environment. But the good news is if you've got DLP or you're considering DLP, you're probably doing that work now anyway, about how to handle data. The good news is it's all within the Forcepoint DLP system. That's just going to show you the configuration page. Okay, all right, well look, you know, no, there it is. That's how it's configured. Very interesting. So let's talk about unmanaged device or device access from, access to cloud applications that you're providing from devices that you're not providing. Or maybe you're third parties. Maybe you're outsourcing some IT to Daniel and his team, but you don't want to give him full access to Office 365 because he doesn't need it. But you might need email, right? So what we do is we integrate with the single sign-on, or we don't have to, but it's easier this way. So we'd say an unmanaged device trying to get access to live.com on dave.barnett@Forcepoint email address. We then use a single sign-on to redirect to a vanity URL that we're hosting in any one of 61 locations globally, nice and quick. And then that gives managed access. It says, is there a certificate on this device? No, well, it's unmanaged. Or it is a certificate and we know that device to be Forcepoint, so we trust it. Or we know that device to be FilterMax, and we're kind of going to give you some access. So we're using manipulation of identity to apply policies that could be appropriate for remote access or unmanaged device access. Let's see how that works. So in this case, unmanaged devices, we're not going to give them access to any of these cloud applications. So if the endpoint is unmanaged and it's view or login, then, and the data object is any of those that are sensitive, what we're going to do is we're going to block it. You could also integrate with DLP, right? So give them access to OneDrive, but don't allow them to download sensitive data. But not in this case. So an unmanaged device connects to, you watch the URL redirects at the top. So Office 365, go into office.com, forcepointlab.mysharepoint, right? That's the first redirect, right? So he's going to open up lots of parts of Office 365. You get access to SharePoint? Nope, sorry, no SharePoint. You do SharePoint again. Okay, Teams. I bet you can get into Teams. Dynamics, right? Can you get into Dynamics? Oh, nope, sorry, Dynamics access has been blocked. Teams, yeah, let's do it. Come on, Teams, go Teams. Oh, bugger. No access to Teams. Because we've mapped out this cloud application in detail, this is a very basic example, we can give you detailed control over any cloud application that you choose to give to your users. One of our customers is a bank, a very large bank in the UK, million customers, they've got 1 million retail, and we've mapped out their own application, their e-banking application. So anybody who comes on to do their banking is going to come through our reverse proxy before they get to the bank, and we can apply the same level of detailed control to solve fraud problems that you can solve with Office 365 in this case. We can map out the cloud application, and we can use the attributes for any cloud application to define policies that can give you control, so you can say yes. So here's the real-time view of it. You know, unmanaged device limits access to Office 365. We're spotting this in real time, so no access is given. This is the benefit of reverse proxy versus API. If it's API, we've seen that someone's had, accessed some stuff. Go and fix it. With this, we apply the policy in real time. There we go. Okay, you're lucky there's only 150 slides left. So when I first got involved in CASB, I thought one per customer. They're going to have a really big enterprise solution. One solution beats everything. And when I worked for Symantec, it was, well, we're the Gartner Magic Quadrant in CASB. Would you ever want to buy anything other than us? Look at all our features. And it's like, customers like, meh, what does that mean to me? I don't care. I care about me as a customer. I don't care about you as a technology provider. So what I realized was that customers, and Gartner realized this, is that customers are buying solutions to point problems, to specific problems that are stopping them from using cloud. So my advice to you is to look at the problems that you've got that mean that you can't use AWS, or you can't use Azure or Google Compute, or you can't use Facebook for Workplace, or you can't use Box to collaborate better. If you can solve those problems, and those 5 use cases, oversharing of data, unmanaged device access, administrator control, the cloud being the new attack surface, then maybe we can help. So, oversharing of data. The company record at Forcepoint for connecting our CASB to Office 365 to get visibility of where data is in OneDrive and how it's being shared externally, or Teams, is 48 seconds. 48 seconds. We don't normally recommend that as a benchmark. But it's very quick to connect the API to Office 365, get visibility. Forward proxy controls from the Forcepoint gateway, it's very simple. If you're not using Forcepoint, we need to put an agent there, or we need to use pack files. But specific solutions, you remember those use cases? We have specific use cases that map over to problems that you might have. So when you're evaluating a CASB, the one way you could go is, you could go to if you don't understand the technology that well, you could go to a consultancy and say, what should a CASB look like? And they'll go, ooh, I'm going to get a whole bunch of days from this. Here's 300 features you should have in a CASB. What I highly recommend you do is don't do that. I recommend you say, look, what problems do I have that are stopping me from using cloud, and show me some solutions to those problems. And we'll probably give you 3 or 4. Something like this. Yeah, we'll show you if we can help get visibility and control over oversharing from OneDrive. Is that going to solve the problem? Yes. Move on. Forcepoint, just making it simple. So this is the overall architecture. You can integrate with SIMs as part of a Carter network, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I want to give you another customer example. My girlfriend won't let me go to Saudi because of what happened here. I'm going to Dubai next week. It's like, not going to Saudi. So what do media companies, newspapers care about? And it's protecting the sources of information, protecting their confidential informants. They don't really care about data much. So I got a call from one of our customers in the UK and Ireland. That all they'd done is they connected the CASB, our CASB, to Office 365, and they'd done nothing else. So we ingested the users. We know who the users are, who the administrators are automatically. And in the system, there's a user risk index. It shows you, whether a user is, well, it doesn't show you the users that aren't there's no problems. It shows you the risky users. And at 5 a.m. in the morning, I got a call from their CISO, and he said, Dave, I've got a bit of a problem. It looks like one of our users has been attacked. Now, I've checked on Office 365 Administrator Console, and I can't see anything. But in your CASB, it's showing that this is a real attack right now. Could you just have a look at the logs? So, of course, I can't look at the logs, but I got the guy to look at the logs in support. Within 20 minutes, we had seen that there was an active compromise underway with a customer, and we were really excited. We caught one. There is sophisticated artificial intelligence and machine learning sitting behind everything that we're looking at. So there were actually 5 indicators of compromise in this case. So number one is we look at what people are doing anonymously, but we don't care that people are, we're not looking at things for any other reason than the behavior as it relates to risk. So we're looking at the type of device that they're using. These people are using iOS, so when we spotted that they were using Android, it was a little bit higher risk. When we saw that they were accessing from the Ukraine instead of accessing from Ireland, as they normally go to Ireland, it's a little bit higher, but I could go to Ukraine on holiday. It's not a big deal. But when we spotted that there was access from an IP address range that was associated with a national hacking group that's based in Ukraine, I can't say which country, but it wasn't Ukraine, that was risky because we understand that this is an IP address range that is known to be bad. Then we saw at the same time that there was a brute force attack on their Office 365 account. This is all against their Office 365 account. That was risky. They didn't have two-factor authentication. And then finally we found that there was a successful login from that IP address range. So those 5 things suggested that the guy should call me at 5 o'clock in the morning. So within 20 minutes we could confirm that this was an active attack, and that they take whatever measures they feel are appropriate. If they didn't have CASB, it would still be going. Because the attackers aren't going to change anything. The attackers aren't going to say, hi, I'm here. The attackers are just going to sit there and watch. So if you have Office 365 and you don't have a CASB, how safe do you feel right now? By the way, we do free assessments via FilterMax. So on that note, how would you normally look at, we take a phased approach with implementation of CASB. We want to get a win against a business problem that you have, and then move on. So a good place to start would be visibility, if you've got Forcepoint DLP, into the data at rest within a cloud application. You don't have to do that, of course, but that's a good place to start. Then start to look at data in motion as it's leaving or going to Office 365, or maybe other cloud applications. And by the way, did I mention that we can protect any cloud application? There's 2 caveats, there's 2 things we can't do. One is it has to be a cloud application. WhatsApp is not a cloud application. Yeah, it's a peer-to-peer messaging system. Wish we could, but we can't because there's no cloud app there. And number 2, it has to be accessible via a web browser. So the way that we would protect a new cloud application is we have a licensing model that is super simple. You buy the CASB, in terms of the CASB, and you get 15 cloud application slots that you could use via API or proxy or however we want to connect. And that's it. There's no other costs apart from support and implementation. And then if one of the, if you say, well, I want to protect against filtermax filesharing.com because it's being used, but we want to make sure that we don't share anything that's sensitive, then we don't know what this is, right? So you'd put a support call in, and then the support team would send you a Google Chrome plugin that you would install on your Google Chrome browser as an administrator, and then it would record, like you're recording a video, record access into that cloud application. You'd go in and you'd go out, and then you take away any personal information from it and send it to us. And 60% of the time in the last 5 years, we've put protection in 5 working days. So we guarantee to put the protection in quickly, but surely it's mostly all the time. It doesn't matter what cloud application, where it's hosted, we'll protect it for you. Anyway, then maybe integrate with a SIEM and use our cloud compliance module. So we can check the compliance of your cloud application against standards such as ISO 27001, CCM, PCI, and so on and so forth. Even AWS CIS controls. Our product is highly integrated, as you can see, with web security, where you can transparently proxy data from the gateway, with DLP, so that, well, you've seen the integration there, and our UBA technology is integrated as well. So really, oh God, I hate these builds. Americans love them, right? So what are the advantages of working with us and Daniel and the team? Well, firstly, the user behavior analytic that we have in the CASB will spot stuff before you knew it was a problem. The media company didn't know that they were concerned about hacking groups from wherever it was. They didn't even know that was a problem, right? We identified the problem before they knew it was a problem. We gave them actionable information to deal with it. And that's because of the power of our user behavior analytic technology. We protect any cloud application that you wish. The cloud monitoring control, the bring your own device. When I worked for Symantec, we didn't like reverse proxies because we weren't very good at it, so we told people that you shouldn't use them. Just to give you an idea, so our proxy network is located in AWS availability zones in 61 places around the world. If you use our reverse proxy for Office 365, every 5 minutes, our system in our cloud operations center in Austin, Texas, is checking Office 365 to see whether or not there's been any changes that Microsoft have made. And if they have, there's an automated process to change the reverse proxy for all of our customers so that there's no issues. There were two types of CASB. Since 2012 and 2013, there were the CASBs that were developed in California, Netscope, Sky High, Symantec. And they were focused on shadow IT, because that's what the Americans were buying, right? Show me a report showing the shadow IT. They were very good at it. And then there were the CASBs that were developed in Israel, like ours, Microsoft's, and a couple of others, where in Israel they don't care about shadow IT. They're all about control. So our product is developed with the benefit of control. We've made decisions and to make it easy to get control. And why I left Symantec and went to Forcepoint, because the market is moving towards control. People just want to use OneDrive or Box, and they just need to solve the problems around that. Okay, DLP integrated, very quick to value. I think we are pretty much there.